Wings pulls down the rebound for Indiana. Clark from way downtown. She gets it to go. A rounded down for Caitlin Clark from 35 feet.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. And yeah, we officially have an extension to this conversation because Caitlin Clark just keeps doing things that honestly do not make sense anymore. Like seriously, every single game, it feels like she's either breaking a record, tying a record, or casually putting together stat lines that most players in this league would dream about having once in their careers. And the funniest part is, this wasn't even one of her best games. That's the scary thing. This was almost like a relaxed night for Caitlin Clark, and she still finished with 21 points, 10 assists, rebounds, blocks, and completely controlled the entire game in only 23 to 24 minutes of action. Like, think about that for a second. She led the Indiana Fever in points, assists, rebounds, and blocks while barely even playing 3/4 of basketball. That's absurd. That is genuinely absurd. And honestly, if she stayed on the floor for the rest of the game, we probably leave this game talking about another triple-double. We probably leave this game talking about another historic performance. But instead, Stephanie White basically waved the white flag for Seattle halfway through the fourth quarter because the game was already over. And honestly, Seattle looked terrible. I mean, genuinely terrible. This was one of the ugliest performances I've seen from Seattle in a long time. From the opening tip, they looked slow, disconnected, confused offensively, and completely unable to stop anything Indiana wanted to do. The Fever came into this game with around an 80% chance to win, and somehow the game still felt even more one-sided than that. At one point, Indiana's win probability was sitting around 95%, and watching the game, that honestly felt generous to Seattle because they never looked competitive. Indiana basically sleepwalked to this win. That's the crazy part. This did not even feel like the Fever were playing at full intensity. Caitlin Clark had stretches where she looked like she was just casually running the offense, picking her spots, and still Seattle had absolutely no answer. Every time Caitlin came off a screen, the defense panicked. Every single time she pushed the pace in transition, Seattle looked terrified. And once Caitlin starts controlling tempo like that, the entire game changes. Now, the big talking point, obviously, is the fact that Caitlin Clark got subbed out with around 8 minutes left and never really came back into the game. And fans are mad. Fans are really mad about it. Because look, Caitlin Clark was absolutely on triple-double watch. She already had the assists, she already had the scoring, she was collecting rebounds throughout the third quarter. She only needed a few more boards, and she probably gets there comfortably if she plays normal fourth quarter minutes. But instead, Stephanie White decided to rest her. And I get it. I understand why, from a coaching perspective. The game was over, Seattle had no momentum, Indiana was dominating. There was no reason to risk injury. But fans still wanted to see history. Fans wanted to see another legendary Caitlin Clark stat line. And honestly, I can't blame them. Because we are watching a player right now that genuinely has a chance to become the face of the entire league for the next decade. And look at the numbers she's putting up already. She's averaging, around 23 or 24 points and nearly 9 assists per game? Those are MVP numbers, straight up MVP numbers. If Caitlin Clark keeps that production up for the entire season, I don't care what anybody says, she is absolutely going to be in the MVP conversation. And the craziest part is, she still doesn't look fully comfortable yet. She still looks like there are moments where she's figuring out how aggressive to be. Because in this game specifically, Caitlin Clark absolutely could have scored way more points if she wanted to. She had 17 points at halftime and then barely shot in the second half. Barely! I think she only took 3 shots after halftime. 3! That tells you everything. She was completely content controlling the game, moving the ball around, and letting everyone else eat because Seattle could not stop the Fever offense anyway. Now, for Seattle, there were a few players that at least showed something. Jade Melbourne honestly cooked almost everybody. Except, weirdly enough, Caitlin Clark. Ironically, Caitlin Clark actually defended Jade Melbourne pretty well. But everybody else? Jade Melbourne was getting to the basket whenever she wanted. Lexie Hull especially had an absolutely brutal defensive game. And I don't know what happened, because Lexie Hull used to be a legitimately strong perimeter defender. But right now, she looks completely lost defensively. Seattle literally targeted her over and over again because Jade Melbourne kept attacking her downhill. And once that started happening, Indiana had to adjust matchups because Lexie Hull just could not stay in front of anybody. That is concerning, very concerning, especially because Indiana relies on her defensive energy. Natisha Heidemann also hit some ridiculous shots, like complete nonsense shots. The type of shots where you defend perfectly and somehow the ball still goes in. Flau'jae Johnson struggled offensively, but I will give her credit because she stayed aggressive the whole game. Defensively, she worked hard, blocking three-point attempts, fighting over screens, staying active. That effort was there, even if the offense wasn't. Jordan Horston, though? Man, I don't know what happened post-ACL injury. I really don't. Because before the injury, I was extremely high on Jordan Horston. I thought she had real upside. But right now, she looks completely different. No confidence, no rhythm, no explosiveness. It's rough to watch.
Zia Cook, though, I actually liked what I saw. There's something there. For a developmental prospect, she showed flashes. Same thing with Grace Van Slooten. She's not spectacular, but for a third-round player, she gives you solid effort and decent minutes. I actually liked her during the pre-draft process, so seeing her contribute a little bit is nice. Now, switching back to Indiana, Kelsey Mitchell was fine. Not amazing, not terrible, just solid. 17 points in 28 minutes. Took 18 shots, which is a lot, but she finished with a team-high plus 21, so clearly her minutes mattered. And weirdly enough, Indiana was significantly worse whenever she wasn't on the floor. So even though the efficiency wasn't perfect, she still impacted winning. Monique Billings gave decent minutes. Ty Harris at least gave the Fever something positive off the bench. But KK Timpson? Yeah, I'm sorry. Right now, she looks completely unplayable. Too many defensive mistakes, too many careless passes, giving up open layups, turning the ball over, losing positioning. It's rough. And Damiris Dantas playing 6 minutes honestly felt like 6 minutes too many. Now, Raven Johnson is the one I'm really concerned about because the numbers are ugly, like really ugly. She's basically averaging the same amount of assists as turnovers, and she might literally have more turnovers than points right now. That's a problem. That is a serious problem for a guard. You cannot have your primary ball handlers struggling that badly offensively. And I hate saying it because I like Raven Johnson as a prospect, but right now, those are Nika Mule numbers. That's what it looks like, and that's not where you want to be offensively. Now, another thing people are talking about is the officiation around Caitlin Clark, because if we're being honest, she was getting hacked all game long, like absolutely hacked. If the refs consistently called hand-checking and contact the way the rule book says they should, Caitlin Clark probably shoots close to 19 free throws tonight instead of 9. That's not exaggeration either. Seattle defenders were constantly grabbing, bumping, reaching, and making contact. And the weirdest part is the inconsistency. That's what frustrates fans the most. One possession, they call touch fouls. The next possession, Caitlin Clark gets hit 3 times driving to the basket, and nothing gets called. It makes no sense. The officiating standard changes possession by possession. And then you add in the stat correction situation from earlier, because remember, Caitlin Clark technically got credited with the record before the game even started, after the WNBA corrected assists from a previous game. So instead of breaking the record live during the game, she already officially had it entering the arena, which is honestly hilarious timing, considering she still went out and put up another 20-10 game anyway. And yes, people online were pushing hard about those missed assists. Tons of viral tweets, tons of people calling out the WNBA scorekeeping inconsistencies. And honestly, they had a point. Some of those assists absolutely should have counted earlier. But overall, this game just showed once again how important Caitlin Clark is to the Indiana Fever offense, because the second she leaves the floor, everything slows down. The pace disappears, the spacing gets worse, the ball movement becomes stagnant. Indiana without Caitlin Clark offensively looks completely different. And before I end this video, I have to talk about Myisha Hines-Allen, because she honestly impressed me again. She really does look like a mini version of Aaliyah Boston, and I mean that in the best way possible. She understands her role perfectly, she moves the ball, makes smart decisions, sets screens, keeps the offense flowing, and most importantly, she constantly looks to get Caitlin Clark the ball back in good positions. That matters. That chemistry matters. And you can tell Indiana is starting to build real offensive flow around Caitlin Clark's playmaking ability. But overall, this was another statement game from Caitlin Clark. Maybe not statistically the craziest game she's ever had, but when you dominate a game this comfortably in under 24 minutes, that says a lot. She controlled everything, she broke another record, she stayed efficient, and honestly, it feels like she's just getting started. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think Stephanie White should have left Caitlin Clark in for the triple-double? Do you think Caitlin Clark is already the MVP favorite? And what do you think about the Indiana Fever right now? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.